From the 6 studio that is my room, I'm Edward Fawcett. This week, the Square-based online tournament has been hotting up, and here to bring you a report on the weather so far is me. I'm just going to be on the other screen over there. I know that weather reports are meant to be for the future. I don't have a time machine. You're just going to have to... It's last week, all right? Thanks me, that's right. As you can see, we've got a wide sweep of weather ahead of us. It's really changeable. The old world, turns out, has a varied climate. So, let's get straight into it. First of all, we have got the Beastmen. Now, the Beastmen have come in hot. There's only 3 armies here, but 2 of them have won, and 1 of them has drawn. They're undefeated. They're looking like a strong start. A little bit of cloud cover there. They haven't got the full 3 wins, but looking promising for the Beastmen. Really looking forward to seeing how they get on next week, depending on how the pairings go. Not quite as strong a start, we've got the Brettonians. Now, the Brettonians have got 11 lists here that have been played a game in the first week, and only 2 of them managed to secure a win. There were also 2 draws, but those were 2 Brettonian lists playing against each other, which is not necessarily a strong sign if a faction can't even beat itself. So, looking fairly cloudy for Brettonians. Gonna have to see how they get on moving forwards. Next up in the north, we've got the Chaos Dwarves. Why are they in the north, you might ask? Well, the Darklands aren't on this map, so that's where they're going to live. Complain about it in the comments. Chaos Dwarves are perfectly average, looking very changeable with the weather. We've had a win, a bit of sun, we've had a loss, a bit of cloud, and we've had a draw as well, so a really mixed bag for the Chaos Dwarves. Looking forward to track how they do. It's a smaller sample size, but they are one of the factions I've got my eye on. Maybe not to win the whole thing, but to post some interesting results. I think they're very much a slept-on army, and I'm hoping to see more of them going forwards. Speaking of changeable, we've got the Daemons. Now, they might not have any greater Daemons of Siege, but these are some changeable results. We've got a win and a draw across the whole 2 armies that have played here for the Daemons. Moving on down to the south, in the mountains, we've got the Dowie themselves, the Dwarves. Now, the Dwarves have gone fairly well. They've got 4 wins, 3 losses. However, one of those wins was a forfeit win, unfortunately. Wasn't a pairing for one of the Dwarf players. Looking at a, 57% win rate so far, but no draws, which is interesting. Normally you see a lot of draws with Dwarf players. It's more of a slow, turtley playstyle, points denial sitting in the middle. But maybe we'll see more of that as we come further into the event. Next up, we've got the Empire. Now, Empire are looking changeable as well, which is interesting. I think the nature of their list design is pretty feast or famine. Either you get to gun the opponent down, or you don't get to gun the opponent down. Those are the 2 states of being, and it looks like this time only 4 wins out of 9 for the Empire, so not gunning them down has been slightly worse. I will just shout out Val here. He did complain that I didn't mention him in my last video. Val is one of the Empire players. He did get either a win or a loss, but he's been so nice to me that I won't mention which one it is. Moving on next to the best performing faction out of all so far, and across the entire event, High Elves. There are 4 High Elf lists here. 3 of them won, 1 of them lost, but the only loss was to High Elves. So, if you take out the mirror match, they've had a 100% win rate with a sample size of 2. Still, looking very good for High Elves, which is a faction that people haven't been considering to be one of the stronger ones. Obviously, they do have dragons, but remains to be seen how well that will carry them later on through the tournament. Speaking of big monsters carrying you through a tournament, we've got Lizardmen. Lizardmen down to the south in Lustria, not quite on this map, but you get the picture. They're doing quite well. 2 wins and 1 loss. Not bad so far. I believe the loss was quite a close one as well. No, that's wrong. It was a stomping. Anyway, 2 wins for the Lizardmen out of 3. Not too shabby. I think quite a strong faction. Will be interesting to see how it plays. Maybe a little harder to play online than in person. Lots of skinks to move around. Can take quite a while. Speaking of factions that might be harder to play online, I don't know why this is, but Tomb Kings have got an abysmal win rate. They're only at 30% so far. Out of the 10 lists, only 3 of them have won. A little bit of an interesting statistic. As far as I can tell, not a single one of the Mortuary Cult or Royal Host lists won. The 3 wins came in from just pure basic Tomb Kings, which is an interesting trend that actually continues on into our next faction, which is the Orcs and Goblins. Now, Orcs and Goblins are looking very strong here, and if we put some disclaimers in, you could argue that they're actually the strongest faction at the event so far. So, 7 wins, 4 losses, 1 draw. Quite respectable, 58% win rate, 67% undefeated, but if you take out the 2 Troll Horde lists and the 1 Nomadic War, only 1 player lost, which puts them at an 88% undefeated win rate. That's pretty good, and maybe those Troll and Nomadic War players need to stop doing what they're doing and start running more Fanatics. Interestingly, the 1 loss isn't the list that has only 3 Fanatics, so we'll continue on and see how that one goes for him. Next up, we've got the Ogres, and there are 3 Ogre players at the event. 2 of them lost, 1 of them won, and would you know, the one that I played, the one that I have a battle report up on the channel for, he's the one who won. Ors is very good, and not surprising, got a win here. Will be interesting to see how he continues on. His is the only list with man-eaters, so that might be the secret sauce. Ogre players, take note. Next up, we have got an absolute calamity. True to the law, if the Skaven players could, stop squabbling between themselves and work together, we would all be in trouble. Fortunately, they will not ever stop squabbling, and they will never come together. And also, that would be illegal. You can't have 4,000 points against 2,000 points. But both Skaven players lost. I'm hoping to see them win some games later on down the line. I'm sure they will win some games. I'm hoping to see them win a lot of games. Skaven are a really fun faction. I think they're a struggling faction at the moment, but looking forward to seeing how this one shapes out. Speaking of things that aren't struggling, down on the bottom of the board, we've got Vampire counts, and they've gone 5-2. Turns out Scream's pretty good. Now, I think the further on into the tournament we get, those Screams will fall off a little bit in efficiency as people who have played a lot of games get matched up into the Tomb King army. This is one of the factions to look out for. People have been teching their lists for it. I think maybe we'll see that win rate drop as we sort of get into the 4th and 5th rounds, but strong start so far for the Vampires. Speaking of strong starts, another faction with dragons, and also with 7 players, Warriors of Chaos. They are 5-2 as well, so both of those looking at about a 71% win rate. It'll be really interesting to see how they do. Obviously, a real diversity of Chaos lists there. I think that might be something I need to deeply dive into for next week, but for now, you just know Chaos are doing pretty good. And finally, we have the Wood Elves. Wood Elves have not had a good start to it. There are 7 players as well, but only 2 of them got a win. 1 of them did get a draw, and 4 of them lost. So we're looking at a 29% win rate and a 43% undefeated if you're counting that draw. 2 of the losses were pretty close, but 2 of the losses were fairly big stomps as well. So again, maybe looking at those factions that are using a lot of skirmishes might be harder to play on the online systems before people get used to moving around quite quickly. Hopefully the Wood Elf players have some better games this time round, and looking forward to seeing some poisoned arrows do work. Not into me. I think those poisoned arrows would be fairly effective when they come around to facing against me. Thanks for watching. This has been the recap of the meta of Square-based online tournament week 1. Some interesting results in there. We've seen a fair whack. The things that you would expect to do well, the Beastmen, the Orcs and Goblins, Warriors, Vampire counts, they've done quite well. Things that you might not have expected. High Elves looking really solid so far. Factions that you might have expected not to win many games. Skaven and Ogres down there at the bottom. But I will keep you updated going forwards, and I will bring you some more interesting tidbits as we get more games played. Thanks for watching.